Facebook Live.
Hey, there we go.
There we are.
Beautiful.
We're very, very close to being live on the internet.
Ooh.
There it is.
Well, it feels like the dozenth time.
Yeah, I think this is like maybe the 9th one we've done now or something like that.
Nice.
It's been fun.
I think, yeah. So obviously, there was the one that we did, the Instagram one.
Yeah.
And then the one you did with Sean. And then they've taken off from there. And look at where we are now.
That's it. It's going to be like the
Lofty
next Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's.
Have you ever done DMT?
Yeah, you need to get a sponsorship for from
it.
nootropic brand.
I was trying to get Jägermeister to sponsor us last week, but they did not have any of that.
All right, wicked. James, thank you so much for joining us today on this beautiful Monday evening. It's so boiling.
Thank you.
It
for
really is.
staying
I'm trying
inside
to.
with us. Yeah.
I'm going to try and like just not sweat. I'm going to try and look not that sweaty during this.
Yeah,
I decided to opt for blue. You can't really tell I'm sweating right now, but I am.
Yeah. No, I was down IKEA earlier. It was only like me and like 3 other people wearing masks, but it was boiling. It was awful.
Mate. Well, is the 50p ice cream back open yet? I went the other day with my girlfriend, and the ice cream was all cordoned off because of COVID.
I didn't spot the
absolute
ice cream.
travesty,
COVID
mate.
Ice cream. That's the final straw. That is no IKEA ice cream.
No, it was good, man. What have you been up to today?
Mate, I've been absolutely rinsing the Eat Out to Help Out scheme. It's quite sad, really. I've been like emotional over it. I mean, for those in the chat watching right now who don't know what that is, the evil Tory government are doing like the only good thing.
Opinion piece.
Yeah. It was my opinions, nobody else's. The evil Tory government have
it's a great
decided to make food half price to help restart the food economy, and I for one am absolutely loving it right now.
Loving it, yeah.
It's quite sad, really. I mean, I had dinner in one place and dessert in a different place.
Nice, yeah.
I have no shame. I mean, it's stuff. Yeah, I love it.
It's sick.
To be fair, I'm doing a lot of exercise this month, so I'm letting myself off.
Yeah, it's okay. I think everyone's sort of been just doing PE with Joe and fucking running around. And
I'm just going to throw there and say I have done little to no exercise in the past 4.5 months. So don't you throw me in with YouTube fitness freaks.
We should have done this. We should have done this chat on a run.
Oh,
yeah.
I would have been done by now, mate. I would have been done by now.
We can pretend if you want now.
I can set up a green screen for next time. We'll set up a green screen and just jog on the spot.
All right, wicked. So yeah, man. Thanks for joining us today. Obviously, original founding member of Holding Absence, and among other projects. So really, really cool to have you on. We were hoping you could tell us a little bit about sort of like your initial interest in music and how you got into the scene and everything like that.
Sure. So I was always into like performing and stuff as a kid in school. Like I loved like the school plays and all of that thing. When I think rock music for me like really first started with the School of Rock, the film.
Sick.
It was one of those.
So
I don't know if you guys have this, but like when we were all young people, a long time ago, we had these things called DVDs. It was before Netflix, and I had like 2 or 3 DVDs just on rotation every night before bed. I guess that's all you could do when you were little. It was like before smartphones.
Yeah.
So just every night before bed, it would be like I had this one DVD that was like 3 random episodes of The Simpsons.
Yeah,
I just caned that.
Yeah,
I had The Longest Yard. I'm trying to like keep this explanation of how you got into music short, but if I'm on a film, I had The Longest Yard, which is a good movie if you're not seeing that, and then I had School of Rock, and I watched School of Rock so many times. I watched all the little bonus features. I watched it with the Jack Black's commentary. I absolutely loved it. I even remember. So basically, then I asked my mum to get a guitar, so I got one of those shitty Argos acoustic guitars, and I remember like pausing the DVD when Zach and Jack Black, Mr. Schneebly, was were like, oh no, Ned. His name's Ned, isn't it?
Mr. Schneebly is his roommate, isn't he?
Yeah, he's pretending to be. God, we're going down a rabbit hole right now, but they play Smoke on the Water, and I remember being like, oh, sick, this is amazing. Trying to pause my DVD and like squint to see like what like they were doing to make those sounds, and that was where it all started for me. I got like 2 guitar lessons. They were pretty expensive. So I had like 2 guitar lessons. The guitar teacher said, okay, James doesn't listen at all. He's really fidgety. He can't concentrate, but he has learnt this like Metallica song all by ear. And like he basically said to my mother, he was like, he was like, he's really good, but there's no point in carrying on lessons unless he listens. So long story short, me and my mum were like, oh, don't worry, I'll just have a guitar and I'll figure it out myself. And now I am a professional musician. The School of Rock is the answer.
The School of Rock,
Nice.
everybody.
Thanks, Jack.
What we'll do is we'll cut this down to just this, and we'll send it to Jack Black, and we'll see if we can get it on the gram.
Oh, mate, that'd be brilliant. But I guess from there, I got a shout out to my high school. To be fair, it was a PANT comprehensive, which is like where I originally come from in Pontyclun, and the music department there was actually really good, and they had this thing called it was like an after school thing called like rock band or something, and you basically like just formed these little covers bands with like other people, and that there was some people in a few years older who played like even more. Like I was listening to at the time, I was probably listening to like Blink-182, like Green Day, like all of that kind of stuff, Sum 41, you know, like all the classics. And there was people in the year above who played like slightly heavier things, like Bullet for My Valentine and Funeral for a Friend and like Trivium and stuff. And through hanging out with those people at this after school place, I got just super into like metal and stuff. And I guess it never left me. It's one of those things that like once you get into like alternative music, I think it's because it feels like a tribe. It's like different enough to make you feel like you're part of something special. And then actually there's an interesting segue into how I then formed Holding Absence like years later. I was dating a girl back in my local town, and we went to she was in the school, like, you know, there's always like a school next door that you
the rival school.
Yeah, the next school, like in the next town over. I was seeing a girl in the town next over, and we went to their like rock band performance night at the end of the year, and a band played, and they played Velvet Revolver, which was like a tune that was on Kerrang all the time. You know, Slither. It's like and the band was comprised of Lucas, Scott, and like 3 or 4 other guys who used to be in Falling with Style. And I was like, oh my god, there's like people my age playing like rock music, and like, oh my god, they're so good, like I can't believe it. I got chatting with them, and that ruined my life. now I'm a musician. But
wow, that's mad. So I guess that was probably what you would have been. How old when you initially met? You know, for anyone
I would have been.
Falling with Style was the band, like sort of like the precursor to Holding Absence, wasn't it?
I think I was chatting to Lucas the other day about this, and I think that cover band thing happened maybe like a year or 2 before Falling with Style. So I must have been like 14 or 15. And then from that, I got friendly with them. They started Falling with Style, which was really one of the first local bands like of my era that I could even remember there being. And they started putting on these little shows in like community centers, and eventually it moved up to like little local pubs and venues. And by about the age of 15, I was just going to as many shows as possible. It was just like I still just couldn't believe the fact that like there were Welsh young people making music like the American bands that I listened to. And then I guess that snowballed when I started going to shows in Hobos in Bridgend, because I didn't go into Cardiff as much when I was younger. I guess Bridgend was a little bit closer, but I met Dean Whitaker, who runs Hobos in Bridgend. He formerly did a thing called Imperial Music, and he started having like really big success bringing like internationally acclaimed bands to the small town of Bridgend, and from that point I just couldn't believe it. Like I guess the only gigs it's mental, dude. Like the only gigs I'd been to like before that would have been like arena. Like I saw Busted in like the class in the Motor Point Arena, sat on a seat like at the back of the room. Like a couple of years later, I'm at the front of like a small stage seeing an American band I've watched loads on YouTube, like within like touching distance. And like that for a young person, you're just like, what? This is mental.
Everything, doesn't it? Like,
yeah, it's crazy.
It makes it real.
Yeah.
Fully. I mean, the other thing I loved about it was like the unpredictability of like, especially with like mosh pits and stuff. And like, I remember one of the gigs that I'll never forget. I went to see the hardcore band Terror in Cardiff, and it was like the first sort of more like hardcore punk show I'd gone to. And I was used to like, I'd never seen like a mic grab before.
Right.
So I was at the front, like losing my mind. I was like, this is the best I ever. Out of nowhere, he just sort of hands me the mic, and I was like, oh, like, and then like I looked around, and all my friends like tapping me on the back and like going like, yeah, you sort of. And I just couldn't believe it. I was like, what? There's like way less.
I was involved in that music.
You're in the band now.
There's like way less separation between like, obviously when you go see Busted, Charlie Simpson ain't gonna hand you the mic. Like,
no way.
Near you.
It'd be great if he did.
He's not going to do nothing.
yeah. But so I was like, whoa, like what just happened? Like I can't believe it. And from then it was just a complete obsession. Like it's quite sad, really. I like just.
No, that sort of stuff always leads into like the way you want to perform. Because if you see acts like that, I bet even back in the day, you mentioned like Sum 41 and Blink 182 and acts like that. But they all did that when they first started. But because they saw like GBH and they saw the Sex Pistols and they saw it in it, and it bleeds down from band to band to band. And I mean, you two are probably the same. If you go to a show and there's no crowd interaction or nothing like that, you sort of think of it. I could listen to the CD at home. I mean,
100%.
Yeah.
But
definitely.
Yeah, it's a really cool
Well,
thing
I suppose
to remember as well.
It's nice, man, and I think I've got not a dissimilar feeling towards all of that, to be honest, James, because I remember growing up myself in Cardiff. Like it always felt like the alternative scene was like a proper community, and being like aware of it without anyone ever really talking about it. Just like the like alternative rock scene was just like a thing in South Wales, wasn't it? And it was nice. It was cool.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, even like I guess like there was the golden era, wasn't there, of like 2000s bands from South Wales, especially from Bridgend, like for example, Funeral for a Friend and Bullet from a Valentine. Obviously there's Lost Prophets too. And it was crazy for us to think like not only are there bands playing in Wales, there are bands from Wales who are equally as big and as successful going to America and things to play and being on Kerrang and being on all these festivals. And it was just like, I don't know, it was just like a great time to be into alternative music.
Yeah, man, for sure. So at what point then did you form Holding Absence then? I guess moving on to nicely to sort of a more recent time in your life.
So I played bass in a couple of metal bands to start off. I was in a band, my first ever like sort of proper band outside of school was a band called Years of Exile, and basically it was a few guys I knew. I knew one of the guys in the band, or no, two of the guys in the band roughly from school, and then the other guys were from Bridgend. They were a little bit older, and I went to go see them by chance. I saw them play a show in the Moon Club in Cardiff, and I noticed that they didn't have a bass player. I'd never played bass in my life before. I played guitar to like somewhat of a decent bedroom standard. I mean, truthfully, I was fucking awful at guitar, but
you almost sold it. Then. You very almost sold it.
Bedroom, Line 6 Spider, up to like
insane.
There's
mode.
An insane yeah, mate, insane channel. You know it.
Mate,
I love how that's like a
Line
universe. I got excited then. I was like, yes, like get it on.
I lived with a Line 6 head for like 3 years because it was just the lightest thing you could have, and it had insane mode. So
mate,
I got nothing bad to say about that piece of kit.
So just
that in a metal zone, and you've got yourself a band.
Now you're talking. But I saw them play, and I was like, oh, they don't have a bassist, and I don't know why. So something just thought like, ask if you can play bass. Like you can play guitar, bass is way easier. There's 2 less strings, and luckily they were happy enough to have me, and through that, then I guess I was a bassist. Then I borrowed one of them, had like a crummy sort of, you know, like your BC Rich spiky looking bass thing.
Nice bit of a Warlock.
Yeah, like 2 strings on it. I was like, right, that's brilliant. I'll learn all this.
We might need to put a disclaimer at the beginning, by the way, for that comment on bass guitars there, because I don't want to upset anyone if they get halfway through this.
Yeah, true that. I mean, I guess the common theme for my entire life up until this point is just been winging it. Like I know
you've done really well if that is the case. Man.
Yeah.
Well done.
But I started playing with Years of Exile. I had a great time with them. Sort of a few of the guys were a bit too busy to carry the band on. Naturally, that progressed to another band called Oceans Apart. Similar kind of music, like it was mostly sort of like metalcore kind of stuff. But as that was happening, I was really pally with Lucas, who was in Falling with Star, which was one of the other sort of more popular local bands. We were just super crazy about music, so we would be trying to, if there wasn't a gig to go to, we would be in the middle of sorting one, be it at like a rugby club or a restaurant or like a pub or a practice room or whatever. So it was really just like non-stop involvement in the scene. And then both those bands came to an end just for whatever reasons. I mean, when you're a little bit younger, you just sort of, your music taste changes, or certain members move away or go to uni or whatever. Then Holding Absence, essentially, I think I started it when I was about 18 or 19. Found a new genre of music that I was really into, sort of emotional. At the time, it was like emotional, like melodic hardcore, I guess, if you will. And I was like ready. I was like, right, this is the band. I've learned loads from being in two bands and putting on loads of shows and things. I was like, I'm gonna try and do this band properly, record in an actual studio and do videos and all of that kind of stuff. And it was funny, I guess. It was like it was a real right place, right time when it comes to all the members in the band at the start. Like I was just lucky to find like a really great group of guys who wanted to do the band as well.
Yeah. Can I just say one thing I have noticed is that all of the acts that you've been in have had brilliant band names. Usually, like, a lot of people are really like embarrassed to say the name of their first band that they were in. Always, all of those are absolutely spectacular.
I'll take that. There were, mind you, Oceans Apart. There were about 10 other bands with some sort of sea or nautical reference at the time. It was like something tides, captain, something.
Yeah.
You know, like,
or using like like an hourglass and a woman in it or something.
Oh, yeah,
that sort of stuff.
That's it. A compass.
We played pirate.
Yeah, a compass, or the globe.
And you know what it is. You put the band logo small there. Yeah, something written on the back of the team.
That's it.
Like that's on a feature that Ethan's wearing right now.
Maybe like a dagger going through a heart on the back.
Oh, yeah. That's it.
Oh, wicked, man. So, I mean, it wasn't sort of like clean cut, I guess, though, because was it hard, moving from forming your own band, Holding Absence, and then sort of people leaving? How did you sort of overcome those issues and things like that?
So I guess the get asked this quite a lot. The thing about Holding Absence is we never overthought the process in terms of being like, oh, we want to be a band, like we want to do this for a career. It was never, we never thought, at the start anyway, we never thought about it like that. It was more of a case of, we're a bunch of friends who just like, we are like the five guys who love music enough to still try and do a band in our mid-20s, or like at the time our early 20s. But a lot of our friends had already like almost like grown up from music at that point.
Get a real job.
Yeah, oh dude, like totally. I mean people just get bit, people get, I mean, girlfriends and jobs and all other kinds of responsibilities that mean that they can't pursue music anymore. And we were just five guys who just wanted to, we didn't care about doing it for a career or anything like that. We just really felt like we still wanted to make music, put it out, play shows. That was like, and I think that was like the best kind of, that should be everyone's attitude to start in a band. So many bands start like
people, doesn't it, when you stick with that mental attitude of, we can do this and we do it because we love it, and then what you get out of it, and
I mean it worked. Like luckily, I mean, we had a few member changes like throughout the early years, but luckily there was never any bad blood with anyone who's been and gone in the band. It was more of a circumstantial thing. Like some people move, some people live in different places. We technically had three vocalists. A lot of people know, obviously most people know, well, everyone knows Lucas, our current singer. A lot of people know about Zach, who was the singer before that, and he went on to do his own band called Parting Gift, who I don't think they're currently active anymore, but they had some great successes whilst they were sort of doing that. And then before that, we didn't release any music, but we actually had a guy called Phil who left the band because he had to move to Japan, and he's in a hardcore band in Japan now.
Oh, nice.
So nobody really knows about that, but yeah, there's no bad blood with anyone who's ever been in the band. You know, the band's been going for like 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah.
And really all the band is a vehicle for us to just make emotional music that we feel connects with people. I mean, like Holding Absence isn't one of those bands that's like about a certain member. It's just about like Holding Absence is just a thing.
Yeah.
It's and we never want to make it like about us as individuals. It's more about it like just the music. I mean, we want to be one of those bands where someone says like, oh, Holding Absence, like the same way you'd say like Deftones or like, I don't know, like a band like Hammock or something, like where it's just, okay, it's just a band that sounds like that. So yeah, there wasn't much of a struggle in terms of members coming and going. But that, I think the reason there was no struggle is because our goal was just to enjoy making music, playing hard, just like, we were in it for all the right reasons, if you will. I know that sounds like cliche.
It is funny, like with sort of like the amount of bands that come and go in the scene, even if like for ourselves, we're not that old really, but you see bands come and go, and I mean, I don't want to slag anyone off, but you do see, you know, maybe they're not doing it just for creative purposes, but it's more of like a sort of like a vanity project or something.
Yeah,
like
dude,
that,
definitely. I mean, there's a lot of allure to, for some, I don't know why people think being in bands is cool. It's lame. We spend most of our time in a van farting on each other, eating bread for bread
you
for
can do that
breakfast.
without being in a band, you know. Like,
Oh shit, can you? I'll get my kicks somewhere else.
It's not just occupational specific. Like,
Oh, there we go then. But for some, obviously, for whatever crazy reason, being in a band is cool or attractive or whatever, and you do find that people just want to be in a band, which is a really weird thing. And also, on the other hand, you also have people who really overthink, like, oh my god, we gotta work with this guy because this guy knows this guy, and we might get on a playlist, or like, we gotta pay this guy to get us in this magazine. And it's like, fuck me, like, stop all that stuff. Like, just like, do good music because you love it, and people will notice. Like, there was this thing a couple of years ago. I mean, I got a lot of friends who work as PR people, but there's this horrible tradition of like small bands putting more money into paying a PR person to get them like a little shitty column in Kerrang than actually like just spending time to practice in a practice room and make good songs. But the proudest achievement I think I have with Holding Absence, and with Cold Gun, to be fair, is both bands have had a ton of press coverage, and we've never paid a press person, because we were just like, well, if we're good enough and we play enough shows, then
it will come
organically. They're not gonna not mention us. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
Thing, like, obviously, the most important thing you sort of bring up there is sort of relationships with people that you play music with and that you sort of hold on to, and obviously that goes into with the fans and stuff as well. But you've obviously learned a lot when it comes to playing your own music and with multiple different people and things. But what are sort of the hardships that you started to? Because obviously you mentioned, everyone wants to be in a band because being in a band is cool, but they overlook a lot of the other stuff that sort of goes with it. Because I know Holding Absence, obviously you said you had loads of member changes and stuff. Is how you get through that. What sort of stuff would you go on to say that the actual hardships of being in a band rather than it just being the greatest thing in the world?
I mean, I guess the obvious one, and it's a hot topic at the moment with lots of people being out of work and things. Financially, it doesn't make any sense. I'd like to think that like I have quite a good brain for business. I used to love watching like The Apprentice as a kid. I was the guy who like sold like donuts and Lucozade in my school when they banned like fizzy drinks and that. I was there with my gym bag,
hustling on the side,
going to B&M bargains in the mornings. So like whenever I explain to like whenever I explain to my parents, it's so funny, because it's like things are getting better now, but you know, we have been a band for 5 years, but it was things like we'd be going to a player's show in like, say, like, I don't know, like Scotland, driving up in a van that we've paid £100 to rent, and with all that fuel, and then my mum's like, oh cool, you're playing Scotland, like how much are you getting for that? And I'm like,
costing us £110.
Yeah. 50 quid. If we're lucky, if we sell enough tickets, we'll get 50 quid. And she's like, oh, nice, each. And I'm like, oh, no.
If only you knew, Mum. If only you knew.
The funniest
I was sleeping in the van.
The funniest thing financially was we played a show in Northampton before in a pub, and it was actually a really good show because Ash, our drummer, is from Northampton originally. So he, like I said about me and Lucas being really connected in the Cardiff music scene growing up, our drummer Ash was really connected in the Northampton music scene. It's a small but like really dedicated scene of people who love heavy music, and we actually filled like a good amount of people in this weird little pub in the middle of nowhere. And we finished playing, and the guy told us like, oh, if you bring a load of people, we'll sort some cash out. And we weren't even expecting it. It was like early days. We were like, oh yeah, brilliant. That means we don't have to pay. We don't have to pay out of our own pocket for the petrol on the way home. Anyway, we finished the gig. A nice amount of people in, and I go to the guy. He's like, all right, yeah, man. You know, is there anything for us? And he said, he's like, oh, I don't know, some drinks. And I was like, oh, okay, you know, the boys will be at the time I didn't drink, and I mean I still don't, but I was like, oh, okay, well the boys will be happy with like a crate of beers. He slides over 4 cans of Coke. He's like, here you go, mate, thanks for playing. He slides over 4 cans of Coke, and I just look at him and I go, man, there's 5 of us. So we're there in the car park of this fucking pub, like trying to siphon out like an equal amount
of Coke into 5.
We've all got a fair amount of Coke, but
it's fucking horrendous, man.
Yeah, the first struggle is finance. But if you're in it for the right reasons, then you can definitely see the positives of you know, for example, a lot of my friends who chose to go straight into work, obviously not judging anybody, you could do whatever you want with your own life, but I have friends who've worked since the age of like, well, I have friends who went straight from school. They didn't go to uni. They started working at 16. So they've been working for nearly 10 years while I've been fucking around. And they spend all their money
fucking around. Thank you very
much.
Yeah,
exactly. But they spend all their money on the weekends, like to get wrecked and forget about life, or they spend all their money to travel, which we get to do for free because of music. Yeah. So I mean, as long as you view it and as long as you can make sense of it in your own head, there isn't really no downside. I guess the only other one is doing something creative at a higher level can often cause a lot of mental like stress. Yeah. Like there are some bands where they have almost like an agreed sort of like a leader, if you will. But many other bands are like a complete democracy. It works for some bands, it doesn't work for other bands, but it takes a lot of maturity and patience and stuff when the thing you love isn't going the exact way you want it to go, or like that every decision especially with holding absence, because we're sort of like on our way to being like a full-time band. Every decision feels like way more massive and like life-changing than it needs to. It's like picking what color to make a picture on our page. It's like we can have an argument when I fucking hate you, I wanted it to be fucking red, like and that's a weird, you have to sometimes take a step back and be like, whoa, there's more to life than that.
The color of this picture on our Facebook feed.
Or you also have to remember that obviously if you're having an argument with one of your best friends about something, it's probably because you both care. And you probably just think that you've thought about it more, but sometimes you have to accept that maybe the other person's thinking an equal amount, and that there could be a chance that you're not always right. Yeah, I struggle with that a lot.
If it's about like making good music is the bottom line on it.
Yeah, dude.
Everything else should happen organically from there. And obviously, it's great having individuals in a band, like you said. It's not just it's for everyone. Like you said, whole albums is for everyone, not just the people in the band, but everyone outside of it. And it's good that
one thing
it means a lot.
One thing we talk about a lot with HA, and I would give this advice to any other band, and I actually spoke to Faisal about this the other day, who obviously you interviewed recently, is like I think if there's not just one leader in a band, because that does work really well sometimes. If it is more of a split between 4, 5, 6, 3 people, it's really good to make sure that everyone has an area of the thing where they feel like invested in, because when you get that, it's like such a sweet spot of like productivity, and everyone feels like valued, like everyone feels like an important cog in the machine. Like there may be a guy like someone watching this now could be in a band, and they might feel, my guitarist writes all the music, so I don't feel like I'm really involved. But then it's like, well, maybe you could do some art, or maybe you could get involved with the visual side of things, or get stuck in with lyrics, or even social media. You know, I think a big thing that I did a lot of in the early days. I mean, Holding Absence now, we've all been doing music for such a long time, to the point where we really all enjoyed writing together. But in the early days, I really wasn't a confident writer. Back when Faisal was in the band, he pretty much wrote like 99% of the music, and in return, then I would do like the majority of the thinking, if you will. Like I would be the guy that books all the shows, or figured out how we'd market something on Facebook. So
right, yeah.
So I would always recommend a band to try and figure out a way for everyone to feel.
With the members.
Yeah, definitely.
Nice, man.
I
That's
feel like
nice.
the creative side to it, like if you're a musician, you're creative, full stop.
Yeah,
So
100%.
you're able to adapt yourself or put yourself out to do, like you said, social media posts, as mundane as they can sound, can be incredibly important if you put the creativity that you've got into writing a bass line in a track.
I mean,
you
bands have done some really like brilliant. Like I'm always seeing things and being like, clever. Like I like what they're doing with that. Like, it doesn't have to be.
Why didn't I think of that?
Yeah.
That's nice, man. I think it's quite interesting hearing you talk about that, because you do a bit of sort of managerial roles for other artists as well, and sort of get involved in other projects, not just Holding Absence and the Cold Gun, right? So I guess we could talk about.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that all came from. There were two major like things that happened that sort of led to that. And the first one was my old band Oceans Apart. We fell victim to paying this absolute idiot. I'm not going to name them because they're still part of the UK music scene. Most people think they're a knob, but we paid someone £250 a month to like manage our band, because at the time we'd played Cardiff a whole bunch of times. We'd sold a decent amount of tickets. We'd like released a music video on YouTube and that. And it just seemed like the next like logic. We were looking at our favorite bands on the about section of their Facebook and seeing that they all had managers. And I think you when you're younger, you think like, oh, like, okay, we need a manager then. That must be how you unlock like the next tier of being a musician.
Right, yeah.
It's absolutely not the case. I mean, we basically paid someone like 250 quid for like 3 months to do nothing. Like so from that, I obviously admin. Yeah, that was rough. That was a bit of pills to swallow. So from that, then I decided to do a deep dive, and I found a few podcasts about band management, and I googled around, and I was like, well, what is a band manager? Like, what does it mean? Like, what's a band manager? What's an agent? What's a record label? Like, how do these things work in harmony? How do you need all three to do what I wanted to do ultimately, which was to be in a band? And I found out that basically no single manager, and I have 100 friends who are managers now. No manager actually knows like the complete correct way to do what they're doing. Yeah. Managing is simply like just making sure everything sort of works out.
Yeah.
My favorite quote, and Ryan, who runs Future History, I think it's his bio, but it's like, somehow I manage, is like the perfect way to sum that up. But so I started managing my own bands and becoming the member of the band that would do the day-to-day tasks and things that we need to do to sort of operate. And I got really into that, and I thought, you know what, I'm quite a confident speaker. I'm able to like sort of chat to a bunch of people and like sort of delegate roles and things. And I was like, you know what, I could probably do this for other bands, and I want to be in every band. Whenever I see a cool band, I'm like, oh, I want to, like, for example, you're an Employed to Serve long sleeve right now. I could go see Employed to Serve tonight, and I could be like, oh, I want to do a band like that. So like managing bands then allowed me to sort of like, it felt like I was a sixth member in like loads of my favorite local bands. Yeah. I mean, obviously Ethan knows, like I used to manage a band called Frown Upon, who's obviously some of your closest friends. And the reason I wanted to manage them is just because I wanted to be in that band. I was like, oh, this band is sweet. I've watched them, and I know like what I think they could do better. And like, I've seen the way they've done things online, and I'm like, oh, I could, and I got a kick out of doing that. You know, it was just like, it was, when people play like football manager games, like it was like that for me. It was like Music Manager, like, but then the second thing that was really sort of big for me was I met Ryan, who currently manages Holding Absence and runs Future History Management. So he manages people like Loath and Foxjaw and Holding Absence and Sleep Token and a bunch of other
all
bands.
the best ones.
Yeah.
All the best ones.
Literally like all of the best upcoming bands in the UK. Like really, like he's got a stacked roster. But I was lucky enough to go to Download Festival with my good friend Dean Whitaker, who was the promoter from Bridgend that I told you about before. And when we went there, I was lucky enough to meet Ryan, and I was introduced to Ryan. Ryan was introduced to me as this guy who managed bands like Bullet for My Valentine, and I think at the time it was like Crossfaith and a few other big bands in the metal scene. And I thought, oh wow, that guy's cool. A fellow Welshman. We were actually all wearing Welsh shirts on the day, because that day on Download, I think it was either the World Championships or the Euros. But basically, Wales had a really important football game. I think it was like Wales, Belgium, or something. Too much detail, as always, with these stories. I think it was 2-1 as well. I think. Oh, what's his name? Not Bale, but the other really good.
Hal Robson-Kanu scored.
Probably. There we go.
Finals, there you go. And I'm English, and I remember that because I was working in Tiny Rebel at the time and had to sit and watch it. And I was like, oh no,
there we go.
It's gonna get worse from here.
I'm pretty sure. What's the blonde-haired fella? He set him up.
Ramsey.
Ramsey definitely passed it in, I think. Good lad. But anyway,
big fan of absence,
Ryan, and I was like, oh cool, this guy manages big bands. That's like, at the time I HA was going okay, but like had no idea. Like the logical side of my brain was like, HA is not going to be like a full-time thing. Like you need to find a full-time thing that you will enjoy. And prior to that, I dropped out of university. I was doing primary teaching because it's easy. And well, sorry to primary teachers out there, but it is pretty easy. Let's be honest.
There's another disclaimer that I have to put in.
Sorry,
basis in primary school.
It's not easy. It's fucking hard, and I couldn't do it.
Good thing I'm good at the admin, Ethan.
But I was studying primary teaching because studying.
Yeah.
I just needed to pick something that was easy to get into uni for.
Keep digging the hole, James. It's fine. It's fine.
I'm so sweaty now. Anyway, so I was like, I need to find a career that I'm really interested in. Management maybe could be that thing. I know I've heard about these managers. They actually make normal adult money, and they get to manage like sick bands and be around music and go to festivals and go to tour and all this stuff. And I was like, yes, ding, ding, ding. Spoke to Ryan. I didn't realize at the time he drummed in one of my favorite. I just didn't make the connection. Obviously, he'd been out of the band for a good few years, and he was sort of dressed like less bandish, and I just didn't make the connection. I was just, this is Ryan. He manages loads of bands. I was like, okay, cool. Got chatting to him. A couple of days later, I found out that he was also in Funeral for a Friend. He was the drummer and screamer, and I was like, oh my god, this guy has had the perfect trajectory that I would love to follow. Like, be in a band until you get massive, and then the second you feel like you're not enjoying it as much, or you have a kid and you don't want to be away so much, then manage bands and get money for being in loads of your favorite bands.
Yeah. Do you think that helps the way that when you met Ryan, obviously, because you can meet, I mean, I've not been to Download Festival, I bet you 50% of those people are in bands that you meet in the crowd. Someone goes, I'm in a band.
Yeah.
But the fact that you didn't know he's in Funeral for a Friend, like I said, one of your favorite bands, you
I would have fluffed it, man.
Yeah, but I think that means like I've had a situation like that where I met Guy from Reuben, and I didn't know it was Guy from Reuben. It was at the time Guy had driven my friend Chris Rouse to a show I was putting on. I had no idea. Just treated him like everyone else. Gave him a few beers, gave him some food, and then like a day later, they're like, "You are aware that was Guy from Reuben?" And I literally lost my mind afterwards. I was like,
"Dude,"
but I would have freaked out if I'd known before.
I would have been. I mean, I've watched people who were or still are big Funeral for a Friend fans, like absolutely punish Ryan at like events. Like, you know, like everyone, there's that Gallop beat from Streetcar, and I've seen so many pissheads come up to him at like a music awards and be like, that would have been exactly what I would have been like if I'd have known. So luckily I was really cool to him. I was like, oh, safe man, I'm Welsh as well, blah blah blah. I told him a bit about my band, but not too much. I said, I did say something pretty cocky. I was like, oh, loads of the bands you manage is shit, man. Like my band's like way better. Like
I bet he
maybe
obviously
they do say confidence is key.
But yeah,
I'm allowed to say it because I'm the worst member of the band, so I am just essentially
confidence is key. Then
bigging up my friends. But then when I found out that he was in Funeral for a Friend, and yeah, perfect trajectory, perfect person to like.
And you realised you're glad you didn't say some shit about Funeral for a
yeah,
Friend.
I figured
just in case.
I actually, you know what? I actually gave him he was getting wet and he was steaming, and I gave him a poncho because I wasn't. I don't drink. I stopped drinking after uni because I was a bit of a boy in uni, and so I was off to bed. I wanted to get up early to see some obscure grindcore band in the morning. So everyone else was staying out getting drunk as you do at a festival. I was like, oh, here you go, mate. You can have my poncho. Like, have a good night. Nice to meet you. A couple of weeks later, I'm like, whoa, he was in one of my favorite bands, and he manages a bunch of my other favorite bands. And I actually asked him. I said, hey man, like, would you be up for going for a pint and a bit of food on me? I'd love to.
And can I have my poncho back, please?
Yeah. Where's my fucking poncho? But I was like, oh, is it possible for me to sit down and chat? He seemed like a super down to earth guy, and I was like, can I just ask you some advice and things like that? And it was the first time I'd ever taken like the initiative to do something like that. I was very out of character. I felt almost like weird asking it. It's almost like asking someone out.
If you don't ask, you don't get.
Yeah.
Like, the worst people can say is no at the end of the day. I mean, they can say a lot worse, but you know, the worst people can get is no. But
you know what, as well,
you don't even open that door.
I think so many people throw around the term like networking as if it's something you've got to like really plan and overthink. But if the more natural you are and the more cool, like one thing I've learned, most people who get somewhere in the music industry are just nice people with no ego.
Absolutely.
Like and then so yeah, luckily I seem to have made a good enough impression on Ryan for him to agree to come to food. Also, he fucking loves food. Like I love food. I really love food. Like obviously I was shedding a tear earlier down the bay. I had like take a sushi for £4. Nice. And like usually it's like 20 quid. But he loves food just as much as me. So we bonded over food. We talked music, and essentially about 6 months later, he kept an eye from afar on Holding Absence, and he actually hit us up being like, I actually really like your stuff, man. Like, here's the deal. I'd actually be up for taking you onto my roster at Raw Power, which was the management agency he was working for at the time. And we couldn't believe it. We were like, wait, that's the same company that has like Bring Me the Horizon and Blow Up for My Valentine and Don Broco and all these massive bands. And yeah, we said, yeah, we said it like that would be amazing. At the same time this was happening, we'd done everything DIY up until this point. Like we'd recorded in a little studio in Cardiff. We'd done all the videos ourselves. Faisal had done all the music himself. Like, we were a totally DIY band, and we'd released 2 singles, and we already had a record deal come in from Sharptone. So it aligned up. Ryan's interest and the record label interest aligned up like perfectly, just the right place, right time. And I said to Ryan, I was like, look, I'm keen for you to manage us, but like, I don't want to just then suddenly just be the bassist who sort of just sits back, turns up and plays bass. I really want to use, like, this is the first time I've ever seen a record deal. This is the first time I've ever even thought about any of this. I want to be by your side, like learning it. Even though obviously we needed someone to come in and help a little bit, like he did. It was nice to. I almost like took like an apprentice sort of role, I guess.
Yeah.
And that kind of led to me doing more and more of that until I guess like a year ago, where I got a bit too busy with my own projects to like feasibly manage somebody else.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting though, man. I suppose it was nice. Yeah, having someone who you trusted sort of guide you through that process and tell you what was right and what was wrong and what to expect, and just being confident enough to ask him about it, really, and just being comfortable with that person. Sounds like a really nice relationship, you know.
Was Ryan one of those sort of, I know you said I was an apprentice or listening, but was he one of those guys, or is one of those guys that sort of lets you try something first rather than just telling you, no, that's not going to work? Because obviously the music industry's changed a hell of a lot in the last, let's say 15, 20 years. Obviously early days, funeral for a friend and everything, he must have done a lot from there, but it's changed so much now. Dude. Would he let you just go for a risk on something? Obviously pull you back if you need.
You know what, there's been many times where and this is an important point for everyone to take on, I guess, is you're always the people who go the furthest are the people who are willing to admit that they're learning every single day. Like the smartest people are the people who never stop learning. And Ryan admitted, like, after like 6 months of working with us, because especially we were chomping at the bit to just be the best band at the time, you know, like the momentum was at an all-time high. We were just suggesting all these ideas, like, oh, what about if we do this, and we could do this, and like coming up with all these probably ideas that he hadn't heard from bands in a long time, because he'd been working with bands that were massive, that like didn't really need to think outside the box anymore.
Right.
Like bands that were almost, not to say on their way down, but bands that could fill arenas, like by just posting the poster like once on socials and just being like, brilliant, see ya, like Motorpoint Arena again, see you later. Like, so to have like 4 or 5 like young Valleys boys just be like, oh, we can record a song backwards and we'll do like a 3D video and we'll, like, you know, do all this stuff. And he said it was really cool for him, because he learns things. He learned a lot from us about the way things are working now, and how we as younger people consume media from our favorite bands. And then we also learned a lot of like the more bricks and mortar kind of how bands generally work from him. Like he has an anecdote for every situation you could imagine. Like I'd be like, oh, hey Ryan, this guy's been a dick, and Ryan's like, oh, don't worry, this happened with this band once, this done. And or it's like, hey Ryan, we need this sorted, and he's like, oh no, that won't work because in 2007 we did this. And you're like, fair play, man. Like, but I guess that's the important thing, is like knowing when to ask, and like accepting that like some like experience goes a long way, and someone like him is a wealth of knowledge and experience.
Nice, man. I think it's fascinating really hearing about that, because I suppose it's it's just when you maybe think of a manager in like in a formal sense, like in a business way, you don't always think it's going to be sort of like someone who's really got your interests at heart. But you know, it sounds like that's the opposite in this experience. Is he's been, you know, really guiding, and
one of the boys,
you guys will grow. Like,
Ethan.
Yeah, definitely one of the boys. I think like. I couldn't imagine having any, like, you got to put a lot of trust in, like when you're doing I guess when you have a project that it's almost like all your life's work and all your biggest dreams in one vehicle, the band, and then you trust some guy to like make sure that doesn't sink. It is a lot of trust.
Fragile thing, isn't it?
To feel like that guy is just one of the guys is a really great feeling. And the fact, I think it's the fact as well that because he was in a band, I trust him way more than one of these dudes who like has never been in a band and is gonna then try and tell dude, there's so many people in the industry who try and tell me shit, and I'm like, fuck off, you've never been in a band, like you don't know what it's like. Obviously, like I guess that what I'm trying to say is the best experience, the best knowledge comes from actually doing it.
Yeah, of course.
You can learn it. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, you can learn it, but it's
not
the
for
same,
sure.
Is it? It's not the same when if you've not lived it.
Practical experience.
Exactly.
And being able to, I guess again, those anecdotes are really helpful when we're like when we have an argument with Holding Absence, especially, but and we can all be quite highly strung. It helps way more to have someone use an anecdote to help
put it into perspective.
Put it into perspective compared to someone who's like read like, well, if you did this,
I read Business for Dummies, it'll be fine.
Dude, I'm like, 100%. That's not to say that like there's some things that they teach you on courses and things which like I would love to have just there's some things that I had to teach myself with YouTube and all this that it would have been amazing if I'd have known that like from a formal kind of course. But yeah, overall I'm pretty pleased with how it's gone so far, teaching myself.
Nice, that's wicked. I suppose that's moving on quite nicely now. It would be talking about your sort of your side. Well, I don't know if you want to call it a side project or whatever.
Side by side project.
Side by side.
Ah, there we go. Yeah, I love
James and the cold gun. Yeah. How about we talk about that with two Jameses?
Yeah, sure. I guess you know what? It's a funny one. So I live with this is where it gets confusing. It's the stupidest band name in the world because we thought it was like going to be really obvious, but basically there is two of us in the band, and the plan is that we have all sorts of other people do other bits, like I guess session musicians, but basically just mates who want to play with us. But we're both called James, so we thought it'd be good to call the name James and the something. And then we found that there was a Kate Bush song called James and the Cold Gun, so we thought, yes, that's a sick name. Let's go for that. We both love Kate Bush. But it's really annoying because like a lot of people know I'm James because I've been putting music out like for a long time, and Holding Absence is getting more and more sort of well known. So some people think the other guy who's also James is called the Cold Gun. Yeah, we had a
birth certificate. Like.
So James Bess, the other James, actually filled in on a tour for Holding Absence before, and a German fan came up to him and said, "Oh, you're the Cold Gun. I'm very like I love you." And I was like, that's so good. But I mean, truthfully, we live together in this little flat, and we are just completely obsessed with music as well. And we just love. We've always jammed little bits and bobs out, and when we jam, it feels like, because I guess HA's already gone past the point where it's just shits and giggles. Like it is a little bit more tense at times, and we do have to think about, as much as I hate to admit that we think about things. I'd love to say that like, oh, we don't think about it, man. We just feel it, and we think about music, things. Man. Yeah, I wish we were like that, but we think about things like we overthink to death. Not that everyone should do that, but that's just how holding absence works, I guess. Style, like. But whereas with Cold Gun, it's pretty cool because, in a way, I mean, it would be brilliant if that band like did really well as well. But in a way, there's no, other than the expectations I have in my head, there's no expectation for it. So when me and James jam, it's literally like we're like 15 in a practice room in our school again. Nice, like just like pressing that insane button on the line 6 just like playing bad versions of Foo Fighters songs and just like loving it. And I always quite fancied myself as a singer. Like I was just a bit I'm just crap at music until recently. I've like decided to get good in like the last I've decided to get okay in the last 6 months. So I was like, right then, I'm ready now.
I'm ready. Here we go.
Like, I said, a lot of people know. So we sort of had a little bit of a chat before we do these things anyway, just to like clear a lot of stuff up. But you said that during lockdown, obviously you've been able to put out a lot more stuff. You've been able to focus on a lot of stuff as well. But
yeah,
it's all about your attitude really when it comes to how you approach it as well. And you said that you approach it with probably the best attitude you could have, which is just gonna get good at it. Like I just want to get good at it again.
Yeah. I mean, it's that, and you know, one thing I would say to a lot of people, like naturally, like I guess a lot of people who are into the bands I'm in now say like, oh, I really want to do that, and then they ask me like 100 questions over the course of a few days. I'm pretty good at replying to people. I love that. Like I love that. Like if I could get someone to start a band, that's wicked. But what I think a lot of people do a bit too much of is ask so many questions, and they need to know exactly like, James, what strings do you use, or what amp do you have, or what? Same with running. People are like, oh, what shoes do you have? Like, what app do you use? I'm like, the best thing to do is just start, like, and just figure. There's no right way to do anything. Like, I am a professional at winging it. I am like, I don't know any of the chord. Like, it's shameful, dude. Like someone so I Twitch stream as well, and someone on my stream the other day was like, oh, hey James, can you cover this song? And I was like, I could try. And they were like, yeah, it's easy. It's G, C, F sharp, G. And I was like, I had to admit to them, I kind of managed to pretend like I'm this guy who's sick of music. I was like, oh, I'd have to quickly Google what numbers to put my fingers on.
Mean?
I have no clue. But one of my favorite musicians, I think it was David Bowie, said back in the day, the more you know, the less you feel. So what I'm saying is, any of you can just go and write a song now. Don't worry about all the notes.
Good cop out, and I love it.
That's. I'm digging a hole.
So far we've got bass players, primary school teachers, and everybody in the music industry that we need to apologise to before we put this out again.
That's good. That's good.
You touched a little bit just then about running and sort of getting into exercise over lockdown as well. That's something you've been sort of building up recently, isn't it? Sort of getting involved with. You trying to raise money for charity as well, isn't it?
That's right, dude. So I call myself, like, whenever I say it, I don't know why, I think it's a British thing to do, where you kind of like dumb it down because you're embarrassed. Like, someone's like, bloody hell, you've been exercising a lot, and I'm like, oh, I'm just a wanker, mate. Like, don't worry on me. I'm just one of those idiots who's got strong. Yeah. But I got into running like big time at the start of lockdown. First couple of runs, I hated it, and I was like, yep, everything I thought up until this point is right. Running is stupid. Runners are stupid. Like, I don't want to know about it. By my fifth run, I was like, you know what? I'm feeling pretty good right now. The music I'm listening to is sounding better. Like, my future looks brighter. Like, I just noticed, like, exercising was just making my brain feel like work in the way I kind of want it to a lot more.
Yeah.
And I have quite an addictive personality anyway. Like, anyone who knew me in university can attest to that. But yeah,
I don't need to delve into that then.
Yeah, that's not in case my mum's watching. Happy birthday for tomorrow, Mum. I was addicted to working hard in uni.
Yes, that's exactly what we wanted to hear. Well, like Faisal, obviously you're good friends with Faisal. Faisal spoke about fitness and stuff last week as well.
Yeah.
It seems to be a bug that a lot of people, apart from me, has seemed to have jumped on the last years. I want to give a shout out to Jimmy. I know that you do as well, Jimmy Watkins, for
yes, legend.
Doing what he's done for a lot of South Wales fitness freaks now.
Jimmy.
He's basically started a small army of people who can just run for hours on end, doesn't he?
Yeah, we're training for the revolution or something like that.
The London Marathon or the Cardiff Marathon is literally just going to be running punks.
Mate, I would love that. But yeah, so Jimmy's really cool. I came across Jimmy because he's been doing those running reviews, and for those people who don't know, Jimmy used to play in a band called Future of the Left, a really cool Welsh, like, I guess post-punk / rocky.
I feel like there's
electronic-y.
It's hard to even put something onto it, isn't it? Really.
It's 2000 Trees music.
Yeah.
So it's absolutely like one of those. They're a Trees band for sure. But Jimmy used to play guitar in Future of the Left, and I was aware of him, but I didn't know he was once a world champion level runner,
like 800-meter runner or something.
Dude, like there's a photo of him, and it's so funny because there's all these dudes, and you can see the names, and it's like Kenya, like Wales, and he's just there in front. Like, wait a minute. Like,
I remember the first night. I've known Jimmy for a couple of years. Like, he gaffer taped a bottle of beer to my friend's head and waterboarded someone else at a Future of Left gig once, which was amazing. But
wow,
the first night I had out with Jimmy in Cardiff, we'd gone from outside Tiny Rebel in a taxi down to the depot to go to a beer festival there, and I'd had like maybe 2/3 of beer with him, and he goes, I've got to run back up to Cardiff because I need to go and do an interview for Hub Festival. And I was like, okay, are you jumping in a taxi? He goes, no, I'm going to run back to Cardiff.
That's
and I was like, I know right now, obviously, for people who don't know Cardiff, anyone's listening, from the depot to Cardiff City Centre is not really that far. But in my head, I was like, I'd die if I made it to the end of this road.
Dude,
and he just ran his way in his jeans and his double denim all the way back to Cardiff City Centre.
He's essentially able to buy more beer then because he's less money on Ubers. Yeah. But yeah, Jimmy's an absolute legend. He's one of those people where the positive energy that they just radiate is insane. I don't know how he does it. He doesn't even take anything. He's just high on life.
High on life, like and coffee in the morning.
Yeah. But he set out on this almost like mission really. He through some of the music review videos that he does. He basically runs to listening to a record and excitably sort of going on about it. Through that kind of generating and going almost like viral, he's decided to sort of help other people get into running, because he feels like it should be a feeling that other people should experience. And that's exactly how I feel. Like I said, I thought all runners were idiots before this, and now I am. Now I am one. I bloody love running. Wait a minute. So at the start of the thing, not to be rude, but I was undoing my shoes so I could nice. If you saw me fiddling whilst we were setting all this up, it was because I was getting ready to get out on another one. That's why I'm drinking my water just so I'm
ready to go.
Yourself.
Yeah, running's awesome. Jimmy's a legend. The biggest bit of advice that Jimmy gave me, and I'm just going to give it to anyone watching now who wants to run, don't push yourself harder than you need to. Don't start and just go crazy out your front door, because I tried that for 25 years and that's why I hate running. Run slow and listen to things that you really like, be it a podcast or be it like a new album that you really want to check out. Just go slow and you'll be surprised how much further you can go. And once you get to the point where you're like run into a landmark which feels far away from your house. So I live in the Bay, so like if I run from my house to the Millennium Center in the Bay, I'm like, whoa, like bloody hell, go on, like Usain Bolt right here. Like even though I'm barely, it looks like I'm just walking while swinging my arms, but it's wicked.
Nice.
Yeah, if you're able to, if you're able to, then definitely do it. If you're not able to, even something like a walk could help, or anything really. It's all about trying to make the most of this time if you still have free time from work and that. It's definitely worth trying to figure out what makes you tick.
Yeah, that's nice.
Stand you in good stead for the rest of the year.
It does help, doesn't it? It's nice to, well, I mean, I know quite a lot of people are back in work now, but it was it helped me as well, keeping busy, just sort of a sense of structure to your life.
Definitely.
You're doing a charity thing, aren't you? Was it Cardiff Dogs Home?
Yeah, dude, it's so stupid. Well, it's not stupid.
No,
Please don't
stupid at all.
But it is a bit stupid, because basically, so my girlfriend is mostly in the house. She's quite into like chilling and all that stuff. And there was one night where I'm often the one who's constantly in and out most of the time doing music related things, go into this practice room or go into the studio, blah 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 blah. But there was a night like at the end of last month where she was out for the night with a friend, and I was bored in the house, and I watched this documentary about this guy who like ran around the world. It's like he's like the new Forrest Gump, like real life Forrest Gump. And I was like, I want to do
Forrest Gump too.
Yeah. And I was like, I want to do something next month. I got nothing on. I'll do something runny. So I was like, I'll run and cycle 1,000 miles. So before I divided up 1,000 divided by 31, which I should have done at first, I just instantly, I had a coffee and I started making this Just Giving page and be like, who should I give the money to? Dogs, I love dogs. Set it all up, posting about it. And then my housemate was like, oh, how many miles is that a day then? And I was like, don't know, probably like 10. And he's like, and then he sat there and he's like, mate, it's 32 miles a day. And I was like, what? I was like, oh fuck, someone's already donated a $5 to it. Like I can't go back.
You gotta get going now.
And then my girlfriend come back from her friend's house and or from the night out, and she's like, James, what have you done? And I was just like, oh, I've done a terrible. I've done a
terribly great thing.
Jesus.
But no, it's all good. Basically, getting the miles on the bike is a little bit easier, especially because I don't drive. So I have a driver's license. I don't know why I'm going into so much depth, but I can ride my bike to go and do things that I need to do anyway and get the miles in. So it's not as crazy as people think. And I was watching a documentary last night actually about this female runner called Courtney Dahlwater, and she's literally running 500 miles in the next 3 days. So it really makes my 1,000 in a whole month just not feel that.
We'll make sure we put the Just Giving in the
that would be sick. That would be sick. Yeah, so those people who are wondering, it's for a thing called the Rescue Hotel Cardiff. It's a charity that supports Cardiff Dogs Home, And the reason they need money at the moment, because they get a lot of donations of food and things, the reason they need money is for the veterinary bills that help dogs that have just had a rough past. Or it almost like sort of gets them up to scratch, so they're more easy for people to adopt, because people are going to be fairly put off adopting a dog that already comes with a load of health issues, because that is expensive and scary and stressful. But the dogs are awesome. They're so great. This bag is very cool as well. Everyone should buy one of these. It's a bag that says "Rescue Dogs Rock" on it.
Nice.
Very nice. I should be plugging my own band stuff, but get a dog bag instead.
That's better. That's nice, man.
We'll jump back onto band stuff again, and we like to throw this at musicians and anyone sort of in the industry. What would you say is the best show you've played, or your favourite show that you've either been a part of, or that you've played, or even been to?
It would be, oh man, it's sad, because it would be coming up again this year around about this time. But basically, last year we were lucky enough to play these things in Germany called the Impericon festivals. And for those people who don't know, Impericon is like the big German alternative clothing, merchandise, streetwear kind of store. And it's essentially like a 5-day festival, massive festival in a couple of different German cities. And there was a day where we were on it really early in the mornings and playing to just absolutely ridiculous. The cool thing about this is the crowds are absolutely ridiculous. Like I think it was like the one show was like 10,000 people at 11 a.m. 10,000 people, 10,000 Germans pissed out of their mind at 11 a.m. Like just like, and
loving it.
Nobody knew who. Obviously, nobody. Like about out of them 10,000 Germans, about 5 of them knew who Holding Absence were. Shout out to those 5 if they're watching. But the best thing about that is Beth and Miller, our wonderful photographer, gets pictures of all of us in front of 10,000 people, like me with my bass like that. So then that Christmas, when I met up with all my extended family who feel sorry for me because I dropped out of uni, I'm like, look what I've been doing. This is what, and they're like, wow, is it like that every night? And I'm like,
you go,
yeah.
Sure.
You love
we
it.
drive up to Scotland every night and get £50.
And now when my mum says, oh, did you get 50 quid each? It's still only about 50 quid between us, but I lie and I say, yeah, look, like, that was probably one of the best. And then the other reason why it was the best, the band that changed my life when I was 15 is a band called Stick to Your Guns. I have a tattoo. I'm actually wearing my running shorts right now, so I can show you the tattoo.
Get it out.
My favorite band when I was like 15 is a band called Stick to Your Guns. They put out an album called Diamond, and it's a super like, it's like politically, it's an album that says a lot of important things, and about all manner of topics, be that things like human rights, animal rights, just kind of, it's almost like the 15-year-old's guide to not being a wanker when you grow up. Like it was, I learned more from that album than I learned from sort of anything else in my life other than my mother maybe. And the Stick to Your Guns were headlining the festival, and I was like, oh, you know what, like, this is a full circle moment. I'm playing the same festival as my favorite band. I just went up to the singer Jesse and I was like, hey man, can I shout this song? And he was like, oh yeah, like it was like probably the most deep cut on the set list as well. And I was like, hey man, can I do the bit at like 42 seconds in on this song? And he was like, whoa, yeah man. And he was like, what band are you in? And I was like, Holding Absence. And he was like, cool man, yeah, see you later. And I was like, oh my God. Like not only did I get a picture of me playing bass in front of 10,000 people, I got to shout my favorite bit of one of my favorite songs in front of 10,000 people. And I'm just there like, yeah, like loving life. And straight after there's a video on YouTube of it, but straight after I did it, like they were like, "Give it up for holding fucking absence!" And like all these Germans who obviously don't know who we are, were just like, yeah. So I was there, like, it's so funny because like I walk on really confidently, and I'm all like, yeah, like giving it this, and then like afterwards I give the mic back to them, and I'm like, the stage is so big that I like jog off, just looking like, oh,
Look how proud I am.
like instantly from like cool tough hardcore guy being all like to like
sort of like running across the road, slow jog.
Dude, yeah. Nobody can keep their cool when they've done a mic grab for their favorite band. You got the gun fingers, and you got the
yeah. That's nice.
You know what
That's
like.
incredible.
Oh, yeah, that was the best day of my life, fully.
That sounds good. That sounds incredible. To be fair, I think unless I've really been neglecting the comments, that was actually
Faisal was saying to himself, he went, "All right, boys."
Yeah.
That's as
all
deep
right,
as it got in there.
I'm surprised he's not still out riding his bike.
He loves it.
Is that you calling him out for not being out riding his bike, or?
Yeah, come on, get those miles in. You've only done 40 today. God,
honestly,
only 40 miles.
I think James saying, "Oh, I think that might have been the best day of my life." It's not a bad way to end that.
Yeah, true.
That's good,
this is a close second, guys.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Of course. Wicked, man. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Good
Nice one for doing this. It's really cool.
And, yeah, all the best with everything coming up in this year, and yeah, good luck with the 1,000 miles as well.
Yeah, keep that up. We'll make sure we get the Just Giving in the comments as well.
Oh, you legends. We'll all meet up for a socially distanced pint soon.
That sounds ideal.
Outside Fuel.
That's it.
Costa del Warmanby Street.
Costa del Warmanby Street. Yes.
I love it. All right, nice one, man. Take it easy.
All right, take care, guys. Have a good one.
Right.
Right.
Oh.